And there should be a new live broadcast on YouTube.
Ready, set, go. We don't stop until we're done. Take your places on the floor. Start in 3, 2, 1. From your feet to your head. Shake it, make it
Is that YouTube you're looking at, Benchlanks?
back bend on it. On my body, people, my ladies, gentlemen. Pick yourself up, drop it. Pick yourself up, drop it. Let go.
11, 12, 2, 3, 5, 1. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. Hurricanes hardly ever happen in Huddersfield, Halifax and Hartlepool. Didn't know that, did you?
Yeah, okay, that's good. When are you going to put the panel on the website? Yeah?
4 minutes before. And is the grid walk ready to go?
And Jose, is the grid walk loaded, ready to go? So we at 14:30 grid walk. Right.
Only 13 minutes of it. Got the timing wrong.
I don't know, you can't get the stuff.
Pick yourself up, drop it. Pick yourself up, drop it. Pick yourself
It's okay. Another clap.
Ready?
Yeah. Good afternoon and welcome to the South Plain Grand Prix on day 7. Had yet again another fantastic race yesterday. In third place we had Sebastian Kawa, very close behind René Vidal, only 50 metres in it. And in first place, 9 kilometres in front, Mario Kissling from Germany. That leaves us quite an interesting situation overall. In third place is Mario Kissling now with 21 points. Second place is Sebastian Nagel from Germany with 27 points. And in first place is Sebastian Kawa with 32 points. The others are going to have to go some to catch Seb today. Weather conditions, again you can see another beautiful sunny day here in Santiago. Temperature today, again 33 degrees we're expecting. But we'll also have a bit of a threat of some cloud coming over from the Argentinian side of the border. So the task today of 290 kilometres will actually keep them to the west side of the mountains rather than taking them to the Oliveira Valley. Wind, it's a little bit brisk today on the airfield. We've got a good 10 knots here blowing westerly, and at altitude we may even have a bit of east or northeast in the wind, and that's what's bringing the potential cloud cover over from the Argentinian side. Climb rates, energy's good again. We're expecting between 2 and 4 metres. What we're going to do now is have a quick chat with some of the competitors and talk a little bit about the technology that they use in the Grand Prix. And Gentis is on the front from Lithuania. Hi Gentis, you alright?
Hi, yeah, I'm okay.
Good. Did you have a good day yesterday?
Yes, it was a very enjoyable flight. Not fast enough for me, but it was very spectacular.
Yeah. Did you get any points yesterday? I can't remember.
No
points, but good day flying.
Yeah, very enjoyable.
Tell us a little bit about the technology that we're using for tracking. Can you show us your tracker?
Yeah, this is the tracker, and actually I don't know. Like you can tell more. I think watching this live and so on.
Yeah, you're only a pilot.
Yeah. My job is just to steer the airplane, not watch for the tracker.
Well, the box of tricks there in the back collects the signals of all the other gliders and then sends the positions to us on the screen. And I don't know if you can, Felipe, if you can have a look underneath. There's a little transmitter receiver antenna on the back behind the wheel box, and all the competitors have got this. So all equal.
Some of them have inside, not outside.
Everybody's got an external antenna.
Oh.
Yeah. Have a look down the. Yeah, all very competitive. And what about the instruments you have in the cockpit? What do you have?
Yeah, I have Alex computer and few digital variometers and one mechanical variometer.
Yeah.
So just everything is to the backup.
Yeah. Moving map.
Yeah, moving map on the Alex and 2 loggers, 2 navigation systems.
Yeah. And the loggers are important.
Yeah, it's for the scoring. Yeah, it's a proof that you rounded the turn points correctly and that you've been actually there.
Yeah, great. And what do you think of the race today, the task?
It's not complicated. It's not in the high mountains. Probably most of the guys will do the outside, not in the first system they call it.
Yeah, good. And will we see you on the podium?
I always try. I'll do my best anyway.
Good, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Right, just see if we can have a quick word with Mario. Mario was yesterday's winner. He's already settled in. He's got some of his family here as well. Mario, good result yesterday.
Yeah, was a fantastic day. Also from scenery-wise, and the task was great. Yeah, good flight.
Do you think you'll get the same result again today?
I hope for it, but we will see in the evening. Today the task will be a bit in the lower mountains, not too much variations, at least in my expectation. So we will see.
Yeah. And who's this young man here?
This is Tobias, my son, one of my sons.
Yeah. You've got all the family here. Are they enjoying themselves?
Yeah, they enjoy very much the country. So we spent also 2 weeks ahead of the competition in the Atacama Desert, and we had a lot of fun already.
Yeah. Good. And the task today?
Task today will be in the beginning. We have to climb a bit to go into the central first turn point, and then we have two choices: basically going around again or climbing higher up to 4,000 meters to jump over the pass. So this will be the two variations. After that, it will be pure ridge flying.
Okay, have a good day. Cheers. Best of luck. Right, hello young man. Right, let's see who else we've got down here we can have a word with. Thomas got some points yesterday. Let's have a quick oh actually, yeah, this is Thomas, a local Thomas. First time we've seen him, it's been a bit elusive. Just to interrupt you. Hi Thomas.
Hello, how are you?
First time we've seen you on the grid.
Yes, first time.
Is that because you're nervous or you like to?
This is my first Grand Prix. You know,
yeah.
I have a wild card in, for the Chilean club, and so it's my first Grand Prix. It's been a very nice experience, but of course complicated a little bit sometimes. So I have been a little bit nervous and some frustration, but it's okay. I'm dealing with it.
Yeah, good. Yes. And unfortunately, you don't have any points yet. Are you going to come out of the 0 points club?
No,
you're not. You're going to stay there.
No.
No, you want to come out. Good.
Of course, today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. You know the rules about the 0 points club and leaving it. You have to announce before you reach the finish line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I know that René. I will.
Yeah.
Great. I will do that.
Yes.
I love that.
Because if you don't announce before you cross the finish line, you have to buy the same amounts as you would beer, but wine.
Okay. Chilean wine.
Chilean wine, no problem.
Yeah. Yes, no problem. You got it.
Yeah. And what you know the local conditions. What do you expect today?
Oh, we have to fly. Today it will be a weekday and low, and maybe we'll have some rain, so we have to take care. Yes, but it won't be a very fast day, I think.
Okay.
Yes, sorry, but I have
That's
to
okay,
go
you've got to get and go. Okay, have a good day. Right, yeah, just starting launching. They've got 5 tugs here, and they the first 5 go very, very quickly, so we'll miss out Thomas because he's in that group. We'll have a quick chat with Didier, who's down here. Didier from France seems to take an alternative route. Which is, sorry. Hi Didier, how are you today?
It's a very quiet,
very quiet little airfield, yeah, next to a motorway. Yeah.
So I enjoyed yesterday. Really, it was great. I never flew that pass that way, and
this is the Oliveira Valley. You went on the right side.
Yeah.
And you went over the pass at 5,000 meters, nearly.
A bit more.
Yeah, a bit more.
Yeah, it's places when you're 4 or 5, you're a bit low. And that's not usual,
4,500 meters and being low. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was so beautiful and it worked very well. And
Was it cold up there?
No, not really. Not really. I fly, I have just normal shoes, no overshoes, and so no, you don't need it. Maybe if you stay all the afternoon there, over 5,000, yes, you need to be a bit more.
Yeah. Okay, and how much oxygen have you been using?
I didn't watch this morning, but since the beginning, I use oxygen all the flight.
Yeah.
Just not during the arrival. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think I make the contest with a little balloon.
That's good. And the task today?
Task today. So they are afraid about this humidity coming and east wind, so we don't go in the high mountains. Maybe a bit more. Maybe a bit tricky because we had some high passes, high 2,800 or 3,000. So it will depend. Is it worth to go in the second system or not? I don't know.
But there's more opportunity for choices today.
Maybe yes.
Yeah.
Maybe yes.
Yeah. Will that suit your style of flying?
I'm sorry?
Will that suit your style of flying?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Okay. Well, I hope you have a great day. I look forward to seeing you back here later.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. See if we can just grab one more person. They are launching really quick. They're catching us up. Just go wander down here, and yeah, we want to grab. Well, I keep calling him Lucas, but I'm pronouncing it wrong. So we'll try and get the official way of pronouncing his name. We'll have a, oh, where have we gone? Okay, we're around there. So, just finishing off, getting his glider ready. Looks like an LX 9000 in there. Right, now, hi, how are you doing?
Fine, very well.
Good, good. We haven't spoken very much before, because we keep trying to find you on the grid.
We spoke once.
Yeah, once. Yeah. But I keep getting your name wrong. So can you tell me how I should pronounce it?
Wojcik
Wojciech.
and Łukasz.
Łukasz.
Yeah.
Yes, Łukasz. Okay, well, we'll try and get that right today.
Okay.
How was yesterday?
Great. For me, it was the first day that I was in the game, and it was really nice to fly and watching how the local pilots like Rene can fly in these ridges and on these beautiful mountains. It was really nice.
And Sebastian just pipped you.
Yes, because we made a wrong decision about going to the third point, and that costed 2 places for me and Rene, 1 place for Rene. But still, it was really amazing.
Yeah, it was a spectacular flight to watch.
Yeah, and for us, it's more spectacular.
That's good. We've got some great photographs, so and some good video, which we put on the highlights from yesterday.
Yes, I have a camera, so maybe today I will have also good shots.
That'll be good. Now, in your preparation for the day, you listen to music. Can you tell us a bit about the music you listen to?
I listen to good music.
Yes.
It's kind of rock. It's Polish music.
Polish rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's the name of the band?
Laocze.
Laocze. Yeah. And are they big in Poland?
What?
Are they a big band in Poland?
No, it's not a very popular band in Poland, but it's one of the best.
Sounds good. And what about the task today?
Today, the task is interesting. I think it will be fast, really fast, and we'll see. It will be another interesting day.
Yeah. Will we see you on the podium?
I hope. I have a progression on the list. So
yeah.
Yesterday was 4, so I have to be higher.
Yeah. That's good.
Let's see.
Okay. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Right. Well, that's pretty much it from the grid today. We'll go back to the commentary box. Looks like I'm going to get run over. Back to the commentary box, and we'll bring you the race live later. Cheers. And good afternoon and welcome to the Sailplane Grand Prix from sunny Santiago here in Chile. Temperatures here is a sticky 33 degrees centigrade, and just looking to see the pilots climbing. I just zoom in. They're a little bit further to north of the start line, up between 3,300 and 2,200 meters. As I said, it's really hot and sunny here. We're expecting that to stay all day, although there is a risk of some clouds coming over from the Argentinian side of the Andes. Wind today down in the valley is westerly or even southwesterly, sort of 5 to 10 knots, and that will be significant for the final glide, last leg into the finish. But at the higher levels, we've actually got a northeasterly wind. Anything up to 15 to 30 knots, which could be bringing some bad weather from Argentina. So the task today has been set to the west on the first range of mountains rather than level 2 where we were yesterday. Task distance today 295 kilometers, and we start by heading north from the start line. You can see in the middle of the picture First leg is 52 kilometres to an area called Central, and we're expecting the competitors to stop at the laboratory on the way and to an area to the left of the first turn point called Lagunas. From the first turn point, they need about 3,300 metres to be able to go directly to turn point 2. And to do that, if they don't get to 3,300 metres, they're going to have to come west round past Lagunas again to get the altitude to get to turn point 2. From turn point 2, if they've got around 2,600 metres, they should be able to make it all the way down to turn point 3. Turn point 3, that leg is 101 kilometres. Route running with a westerly component to the wind. We shouldn't see them stopping, and hopefully if they get to turn point 3 with something like 1,600 or 1,800 metres, as long as we still have a westerly wind in the valley here, they'll be running back home to the finish. That's the distance of 91 kilometres, and then just the last 3 kilometres from the checkpoint. So we're expecting another exciting final glide along the mountain ridge here, you can see on the right hand side of the picture. And then into the finish here, just parallel to the motorway, just like yesterday. Bit of a recap on the results from yesterday. In third place was Sebastian Carver. Gave us quite an exciting finish with René Vidal, only 40 metres separating them as they crossed the finish line. Just under 1 second between the two of them. But out in front was Mario Kissling from Germany with 10 points. And that makes the overall scores. In first place, Werner Arman, who did really well on the first day, he's got 18 points in fourth place. In third place now, coming up the leaderboard, is Mario Kissling with 21 points. And in second place with 27 points is Sebastian Nagel. He didn't have such a great day yesterday, but he's up for it today, having spoken to him on the grid. And in first place at the moment with 32 points is Sebastian Carver from Poland. With us in the commentary box today, we have Mario from the club, who will give us some insights on the various different places we're going today. Nice puzzle set by Alfonso. Also, Brian will be talking to us from time to time, but he's busy just getting the start underway. We may even have some other visitors, but we'll let you know as they arrive. It's a very sunny day here in Santiago. 33 degrees. We're expecting climb rates of somewhere between 2 and 4 meters. So far, the competitors have been climbing somewhere between 1.5 and 3 meters. They're a little bit further north from the start line. It's an area there where they're now up to 3,600. And Brian, tell us a little bit about what's going on now.
Well, we nearly had to delay the opening of the start line today, Sean. And hello, folks. I hope you're enjoying the racing. Sebastian Carver and Papa, he unfortunately landed back because he had a problem with his undercarriage, and so we had to relaunch him. And we've had to wait to be sure that he's climbing up so that he'll be able to start with everybody else. But we can see now that he's climbed up. It's been quite tricky to climb up. It's quite stable low down. But he's climbed up now, and Giorgio, he struggled to get a good altitude, but he's climbed up as well. And so we should be able to get a good clean start with everybody getting away.
So Mario, thoughts for today's race?
Well, I think that the day today is a bit weak compared to yesterday, and that's the reason why they haven't reached much altitude at the moment. And I think that going to the second turn point, they're going to have some difficulties. Usually it's good when we have north wind, but this east component brings you everything down into the valley, and that instead of going up, it brings you down. That's going to be difficult to get to the first turn point. Coming to the second one, it's supposed to be in a straight line to the second one, but you still have to go around sometimes to the Españoles. But if you get a very good height in the second turn point, you might finish the race. From there to the third and to the fourth, it's just in a straight flight. A careful flight, but still without any more turning.
Lots of west-facing ridges there for them to run along.
That's right, yes. But from the turn point 2 to the turn point 3, it's there are some ridges, but sometimes it's just in a straight flight.
So it will be a lot about technique today with the slightly weaker conditions. We'll see them flying a little bit slower, trying to use all the energy they can on each of the ridges.
I think that could be, because having weak thermals, there could be a competition or race for the people that are used to fly in the flatlands, where they are used to fly thermals of 1 or 1.5, and they center the thermals very well, and they get the most out of it. Compared to the people that are used to fly the mountains, they always waiting for the strong thermals, a very good ridge, usually between 2 and 4. So people today that fly more in the flatlands, they might get an advantage.
Thank you very much indeed for that insight, Mario. Just a couple of other notices. If you're enjoying the Grand Prix, please tell others. And don't forget the Chile party tomorrow night. We've heard of several around the world where people are putting up the projector, organising some friends to come around, getting the beer and the food in, and going to settle down and watch the final of the Grand Prix race tomorrow.
And of course they should be eating chili and drinking Chilean wine if they're really going to enjoy the evening.
I'm not too sure that chili actually came from Chile, but
But the Chilean wine, yes.
But don't forget to send us the photographs of your parties. Send us online to the Facebook page. And for the best party picture that we see, we've got a set of T-shirts for you. Talking of which, if you don't win one of the T-shirts, you can buy the Sailplane Grand Prix merchandise. There's a link on the front of the website page, www.sgp.aero. And yes, I'm assured they're very good quality. Actually, I've got one. It's very nice. So meanwhile, back at the race, 9 minutes and 35 seconds or so to go. The competitors are just sort of chilling out, really. They've got above the start altitude. Today, the start altitude, 2,200 meters. We've dropped that down from yesterday. They took a little while to get to altitude, so the day, whilst it's nice and hot and sunny outside, I think that extra bit of humidity has just slowed everything down a little. Some of the competitors now, Sebastian Egli up at 3,300, and the lowest is one of our local pilots here, Thomas Reich in Zulu Zulu. Actually managed to grab him on the grid walk today. He's been absent from his glider most of the time, but it was so close to the front he had to be there. Really enjoying his flying, but unfortunately still in the 0 points club. He'll be doing his best today to try and get some points on the board. Just looking at it at 2,200 meters. We're getting some news from Brian about the start.
No, we're on course for starting at 1,500. It looks like Thomas may be struggling to get enough altitude to get a maximum start, but he has been much higher, so there's nothing we can do about that. We try to time the start and the launching to make sure everybody has enough time to climb, and we watch and see, and if it's really difficult for them to get the altitude, then we delay the start. We don't want to start the race without everybody in a good position to have a fair start.
Yes, with the weaker conditions, it's not that much weaker. We got a question here whether or not any of the competitors actually reduce their ballast, but we don't expect anybody to drop any ballast at all today.
Now, we're pretty sure that once they've started, we'll still be looking at speeds in excess of 120 kilometres an hour, and at that speed they'll need to be at this wing loading. There's no need to reduce the wing loading with this.
Thanks for that, Brian. And Mario, this first leg, we were just talking about it. It was 52 kilometers. Do you think they'll go straight to the laboratory?
Yeah, they will go straight to the laboratory. They're going to have some hard time to going up. You can go either into the Españoles on the right side of the screens where they're flying now, or to go in the outside. I mean, to the left side of the screen. What happens is that we don't have strong thermals. But if you get into the Españoles with very good patience, we can see that some people have been up there to 3,800. Then you can get up to the Lagunas, and from there to the Central very, very easy. But it's going to take you some time. They're going to spend some time going up.
So with 6 minutes and 15 seconds to go, the competitors will start to think about coming back off the hill here from the Españoles down towards the start line. Remembering, with 5 minutes to go, they'll need to not turn right. They can only turn left. And with 1 minute to go, they need to be behind the start line or its extensions. So highest at the moment is Lucas from Poland. We had a chat with him earlier. I know you pronounce it slightly differently in Poland, but he seems to be happy for us to call him Lucas. Second highest is Sebastian Nagel from Germany. And on the right hand side of our screen we can see Thilo and 3 Victor. Again, 3,200 meters. So they've got another 1,000 meters to descend before the start. 5 minutes and 20 seconds to go now. For those of you just joined us, we've got a task of 295 kilometers taking us north to the Central area and then back down a total of something like 150 kilometers to the south. And from there they've got a 91 kilometer run back up towards the finish. Here in Vitacuri in Santiago. Lovely sunny day outside. And Brian, what can you tell us?
We're still on course. I think it's interesting that the folks at home might realise that we're going to have a very good ridge running finish again today, because coming up from the south there should be a westerly valley breeze and it should be ridges all the way back. So we, from the last turning point, we probably see a very fast run coming back. It should be very exciting, like we've seen on the last 2 days.
And while you're still there, Brian, we've only got 17 competitors on the board here. What's happened?
That's right. Unfortunately, Tom from the USA wasn't feeling well this morning. He's got a throat infection, and so it was best not to fly with that. He had to take some drugs for that to help cure the infection, so it's not a good idea to fly.
Well, there's the thought. Sebastian Carr on the podium in his budgie smugglers. So with just under 3 minutes to go, the competitors now working their way back behind the start line. Having a few little internet problems here, but hopefully that's not affecting you at home. Thilo on the right hand side of the screen, just descending behind the start line, and the rest of the fleet with John Gatfield at the back, with a minute and a half to get to the start line. Sorry, Thomas at the back, with Mark Tingey there and Oscar Bravo. Sebastian Nagel still at 3,000 meters, but René Vidal at 2,400. So René's going to need to slow down and just conserve that altitude in the last 2 minutes. I wonder if Thomas is going to make it, actually, with a minute to go. Looks like we'll get the majority behind the start line. Incidentally, if they are in front of the line with 1 minute to go, they get some penalties. And just trying to work out what it was, actually. I think there's a couple of seconds added for every second that they're in front of the line. This is a safety feature to try and bring them back behind the line, so they're all going to be going in the same direction. So 1 minute and 30 seconds to go, and just judging the speed on the screen, it looks like Thomas might be the wrong side. So that's not a good way to get some points today. Still behind the line, we'll have the majority of the fleet. Just watching the group now circling behind the line. They're all turning left now. And now it looks like Giorgio Galetto, Mark Tingey and Thomas Reich will have penalties for being in front of the line with 1 minute to go. Let's hope Thomas goes off to one side. Yeah, he's being sensible and moving off to the side. When you've got 16 other competitors coming at you, it's probably best to be on the other side. So 30 seconds to go now. They'll just be coming out of their circle. Sebastian just taking one more turn. Thilo heading towards the line now. Mark Tingey behind the line now. That's good. And Thomas will be just about make it behind the line. Bostjan at the bottom of our screen, staying on the left-hand side as the line will open in 5 seconds. And Benji will give us a view over the top of the line. And it looks like there's going to be some penalties there. We'll try and work out who was over the line for you there. Looks like Thilo might have been a bit early, and maybe Roman Mercek as well from the Czech Republic. Rennie, I think, was just spot on. But again, we'll check with our referee when we get the flight recorders back. So everybody pretty much heading off in the same direction. No early split yet. Where would you go from here, Mario?
Well, I would go to the area where we call the Piedra del Águila. That's the area where a few minutes ago Sebastian Cava was getting very good lift. Otherwise, if you don't get anything, you might still continue. The laboratory, I think, didn't help them. It looks that it's not really giving you very good conditions.
Yeah. This area up here is the laboratory that we were looking at earlier, and the competitors were climbing here and then up on the Españoles.
That's right,
ridge
yes.
to the right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
but otherwise, they will just continue to Lagunas.
And Lagunas is a little bit further on towards TP1, off in the distance. Just looking at the fleet all sticking together now. Incidentally, with the start, they can't come back. So if anybody's over the start line, they can't correct themselves. They just get a time penalty.
And it's such a different day to the past 2 days. The maximum start height for the last 2 days have been 2,800, and they've been climbing to 4,000 meters before the start. And we saw that immediately after the start, we were doing 180, 200 kilometers an hour. Now we can see 150, 160 and moving off very gently. The first part of the flight will be really quite cagey, quite slow, trying to find some altitude just to move on higher up in the mountains before they can really start to motor along. We will probably see speeds down below, even below 100 kilometers an hour for the first few kilometers of the race.
Yeah, Roman Mercek was the first to turn. It looks like all of the others are going to stop and stick with him. Climbing now between 1.5 and 2 meters. A lot of gliders in that thermal. And Werner Arman pushing on. So is Giorgio Galetto. Mark Tingey. Looks like Thilo might have peeled off as well. So just taking 1 or 2 turns. And then moving on. This ridge on the right, we can see just before they get to the laboratory. Is that a good area to climb, Mario?
Well, that's a very good area, really. This is the area we call. That's the area where we call the Piedra del Águila. and it's a very steep and sharp ridge. And if you get the wind from the west or southwest, it gives you very good strong thermals.
So we have a westerly wind down here in the valley. At altitude we're expecting it to swing northwest, and then actually further higher still northeasterly, which might bring us some cloud later from Argentina.
Yeah, but worse than that, instead of giving you lift and the ridges are looking north or west, it gives you it pulls you down.
So a couple trying a turn or two. Looks like Sebastian Nagel is trying one turn there. Not very strong at the moment.
That's the area that I was talking, where Sebastian is turning. You have to be patient there.
It's whether his patience will allow him to stay there, or whether he'll see the others pushing on and want to move with them. Sebastian now 2,170 odd meters and pushing on and following the others. Doesn't want to let them get away. Sticking with the pack together. Nobody making a move as yet. Roman Merchek has been a bit quiet this competition. He's decided he needs to set the pace.
Yeah, I think he's a bit disappointed with his performance so far, because he's a very good pilot, Romans, and he can do really well. But I think he's having trouble acclimatizing himself to the conditions and the type of racing here. He hasn't got much experience in this area, and so he's probably been trying things out and experimenting a little bit, and it's not been working out for him. And of course we must remember they have to go the first 20 kilometers before they're free to turn to the right. All turns must be to the left in the first 20 kilometers of the race.
For those early starters, the penalty is 10 times the number of seconds that they were over the line. So Thiele could have been anything up to 3 seconds over the line too early, so he could have a 30-second penalty. Certainly in Grand Prix racing, that's an awful lot of time. The ridge they're running to now, Mario, does that have a local name?
No, but it ends up in where we call the Maraco, which is that one is being pointed there.
And that's a good area to climb.
It's not a very good area to climb. It's a very good area to pass through. It's a very good ridge, and just continue either to the Catedral or to go straight to the lagunas. I think that what they're gonna do is to aim the lagunas area, or that thermal that we had a few days ago in the middle of the valley. That area is being pointed now. It's called Trucha. We had a turn point yesterday right there.
That's right, and they turned a little bit further up the ridge towards where the compass symbol is at the top of the screen.
That's right, yeah. That's called Catedrales. That's right, yeah. But they're very low now. They're just gonna go above the ridges, and to get into the Laguna valleys, they don't have the altitude to go through. They might have to go even to El Cobre, which is on the left side of the screen in the upper corner.
So the area they're flying in right now, Roman's at 2,017 meters. The area on the right, is that a little higher?
Oh yes, yes. That's much higher. They're just, you can see them on the screen that they're very low related to the hill.
There's a bit of energy there. They're all pulling up as they come right around the ridge there.
But don't stop. Just continue.
So everybody's sticking together. Nobody wanting to stop and climb behind. Everybody following on together. Great view that we're getting now from Silent Wings. Brian, what can you tell us?
Well, it's interesting to see Romans there. He's got nobody in front of him. There's a lot of pulling power for the people behind. Nobody really wants to let anybody get away. And even if you fly through good lift, if somebody's going on ahead, there's a big temptation just to keep going. But we can be pretty sure that at some stage somebody will hit something behind, and they will stop to climb, and that's when we'll see the separation on this first leg.
Okay, if you'd like to join in the conversation, you can do so. Just click on the YouTube link, and there's a live chat on the right-hand side. If you've got any questions for us, ask away there. Agua Casada will help with any tracking and technical questions, and any flying related questions we'll try and do our best to answer. So you can join in. Let us know what you're up to, who you're with, whether you've got a Chile party going on tomorrow, whether you've ordered your SGP clothing or not, and we'll bring you the best of the commentary we can. As the competitors stream on, where are they now looking to climb, Mario?
Oi, this is going to be difficult. They're rather low in this area of La Trucha, that whitish mountain there. They are very good lift, but they're well spread around. They're not easy to turn and to circle very well. Raman is already getting one which is way below in that corner.
Yeah, Roman's down at 2,000 meters, but he has got to climb.
Yeah,
see
but if you can go through and pass where
Werner Arman in
Werner
Whiskey Golf
Arman is going, on the other side there, you can also get some lift.
So we'll watch and see where Werner climbs. Roman's still sticking with it. Werner now coming into good lift, 2 meters now. And Roman Merchek climbing at just over 3 meters. Thilo's seen him and is going to go and join him. And it looks like there's 2 groups here splitting. One group following Werner Arman, and the other group going over to climb with Thilo and Roman. Didier's in there. Papa, that's Sebastian Carva, Giorgio Galetto. Rene's there, and Bostian from Slovenia. Thilo's moved straight on, missed the climb. Looks like Sebastian's missed it as well, and he's pushing on.
One of the themes of Thilo's flying this week is to be out in front in the early part of the race. He seems to like to get on his own and out in front, but he doesn't seem to be able to stay there till the end of the race. And we were talking about it last night, and I thought maybe today he'd be a little bit more conservative and fly with the others for longer and then get out in front at the end and not at the beginning.
We're
well, Thilo is arriving in an area what we call the solar rock, where they have very good and strong and very narrow thermals. But I think that he just passed it on.
The competitors now all around 2,100 meters.
Sebastian got it. Sebastian is going to get it. The one that was talking.
Sebastian in the middle of the screen. Looked like he got 3 meters on one side. No, he's pushed on.
It's pushed on. No.
Thilo flying quite fast now, top left of the screen. Trying to find another area where he can climb. The group on the right slightly higher. Just watching to see if anybody makes a move. All pretty close together, all within a couple of kilometers. Giorgio Galetto now the highest at 2,175 meters. Thilo now just managing to maintain his altitude, 2,100, off on the left-hand side of the screen. So having missed 2 or 3 climbs now, where are they going to stop now, Mario?
Well, I think that they're aiming to that valley that we have in front, in the upper part of the screen. That's the area between Cobre on the left side to the east and Lagunas to the right side. That's where we had a couple of runs or couple of races ahead a bit before. We had all the people who went down there, and remember they all climbed together. It's a very good and strong thermal right in the middle.
We'll watch and
Now
see
the
where
other
they
thing that
climb.
we're not seeing the cumulus. They probably already have seen a cumulus that gets in the middle there.
We have a question about the climb rates. I believe they're generated by GPS climb rates, so that's why they bounce around a little. But once they're in the climb, they settle down. We'll try and do our best to average it out for you. So we have Alex, our eye in the sky, with a bit of an update.
Hello, Alex. Where are you?
Hi, Brian. I'm doing very fine. Right now, I'm about 16 southwest.
Just trying to get a little bit of information from Alex. Having some trouble with his phone. I will bring that to you as we get him back again. Alex is flying a Nimbus 4DM. We're just going to try one more time to see if we can bring Alex to you.
Hi, Alex. Where are you? Hi, Alex. Where are you?
No, we've lost Alex. We'll bring him to you if we can get a signal. What we're hoping from him is a little bit of an insight into what's going on with the weather. We can see the position of all the gliders, so we're happy that we know where they are. But it's just nice to know what the weather conditions are.
Yeah, we'll expect that. We'll wait for his information. Well, they're flying to this area in the middle of the valley. It is not right that I would say it, but this thermal is under my name, and is called here, and everybody knows here in the club about the Reyes thermal. And
so you have a thermal named after you?
Named after me, yes. And it's a very good area, and it's an unknown situation to the valley. We always expect the thermals coming out of the ridges, on the top of the mountains, but not in the middle of the valley. And that was something that happened about 15 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. And we think we've got Alex now. We're just plugging him in. And Alex, tell us what the weather's like.
Yeah, hi, Sean. Right now, I'm 12 kilometers southeast of La Central at 3,300 meters at Lagunas, the top of Lagunas. It is a very hard start. It was tough to get
No, we've lost his signal. We'll keep going. It looks like they've stopped at Mario's thermal. We've got climb rates now of about 3 meters. It's one of the things we've been experimenting with, is to see if we can get live weather updates. We've had varying different successes with it. If we can get a better signal, we'll try and bring you Alex later on. Looks like Tilo's on the top of the pile there. Managed to call that thermal really well. He's got 3.5, 4 meters now. Others all piling in underneath. I think they'll all be buying you a beer later, Mario. We'll try one more time for Alex. Alex, are you there? No, that looks like a waste of time. So we'll put that one in the bin. We'll see if we can get him on the phone and find out what the weather's doing, and we'll let you know.
Well,
so
the other day I was talking to them and telling them that if you go above 3,000 meters, I charge.
Yeah, and do you charge him beer?
No, no.
Yeah, just hard currency.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. Tilo's climb rate just dropping off a little bit now.
I could hear from Alex that he was flying in the Lagunas. That's the mountain on the right side of the screen. And so if he's flying there, that means that everybody's going to be able to get up there.
Yeah, they've come quite a long way west, haven't they?
Pardon me?
They've come quite a long way west up this leg.
Yes, that's right, yeah. They couldn't get into the Españoles. Well, if you go to the Españoles, then you get to the Lagunas. But from the Lagunas, you had to go to the first turn point.
So the area of Lagunas, we'll just try and point out with the little coloured pointer. It's this area here.
All that area, that's right, yes.
All of this area here is
Yeah.
Lagunas. So we'll climb up where they are now and then head across to that area and then into the turn point, we think.
And just follow the ridge.
And then follow the
Follow
ridge
that
round.
ridge, that's right.
And onto
Straight
the...
down.
Okay.
And I'm careful. If you get very good height, you just go to the turn point and probably come back.
Yeah, come back
And
onto that
back
ridge.
through the Lagunas to the Españoles, through the Españoles to go to the second turn point.
And we're expecting if they can get to 3,300 meters at turn point 1, they should be able to make it to the second turn point without having to climb.
Yeah, but just going around. Otherwise, if you go straight to the turn point, you have to climb.
So it looks like we have another great puzzle.
This is going to be.
They're all still climbing. Tilo now 2,600 meters.
It's going to be important the type of conditions that we have there. If there are clouds, if there are cumulus, what is the base of the clouds? That will give you an idea which way to go.
Looks like Roman's pushed on, now leading the others with him, with Sebastian Carver and Papa number 2, Werner Arman there, and Tilo.
So news from Alex flying in the region of the first turning point. He's saying that it's really difficult to get above 3,000 meters into a secondary system. We had a question earlier about the inversion, and generally there are 2 levels of inversion in this area. One of them is about 2,500 meters, and we're seeing that problem now, people climbing above it. But when you move onto the slightly higher mountains and you can climb above that, you go to a secondary inversion which is at about 4,000 meters. But the problem they've got is breaking through. There isn't a lower inversion in the valley, although the thermals won't be very good in the valley. So they need to find the breakthrough point, and maybe on the top of the next high ground they can get that breakthrough point. Once they're up above 3,000, then they should be able to climb to 3,700, 3,800 and stay above 3,000 meters on the much higher ground. This is the tricky part of the flight to get up.
And you talk about an inversion, Brian. Can you explain a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, the inversion is where the temperature of the air changes, and you've got a sort of descending or warmer air, and the thermals will go up and they're stopped because they equalize in temperature. But as the air warms up, so they should push through that slowly until they break through properly, and then the thermals will go right up to the higher level where the same thing happens. But of course, in this situation, it can take quite a long time when you're over the low ground, and it may not break at all at the 2,500 meter level. But once they're on the top, then it might break and they're up into the 4,000 meter level.
Yeah, and this group that's moved on have got to slightly higher grounds, one lot turning left, the other lot turning right. They're beyond the 20 kilometer limit now, so they have this option to turn left or right. And looking like good climb rates on the right hand side, somewhere between 2 and 4 meters there. On the left, not so good.
That area where Tilo is climbing, we call the montura. It's just that area of the ridge looks like a saddle. And it is a very, very good. You can see that they are climbing at the rate of between 3 and 6.
Yeah, Tilo's average now around 3. And Sebastian right with him there, climbing at 3 meters as well. Alfa Romeo, that's Gintis from Lithuania. And just below them is Mark Tingy and Oscar Bravo. And over on the left-hand side, Roman Merchak couldn't make it work, so he's pushed on. Werner Arman looks like he's found the core at 4 to 5 meters. Giorgio Galetto trying to get into that core with him.
This could be the moment where they need to be a little bit patient. This could be the moment, because climbing through the lower inversion level, it can be slow. And it can be a little bit slower than you like and you want to push on. Moving more up the mountain to the higher ground, the lift can get stronger and get higher, and then you're through it, and then you might find much better conditions when you're above it.
Roman Merchek's patience seems to have run out and he's pushed on. That might have been a mistake.
It might, but in that area where he's arriving now, there are very good thermals too. We can see him already beginning to turn, catching up to between 2 and 3 meters per second.
Yeah, Thilo, who's been a little bit more patient, is 600 meters above him. But looks like Roman's got a good thermal there. Average around 3 meters. Well, it looks like it's facing the sun and the wind.
That's right, yes. But he had to be patient to get up there. Now the whole group got together.
Yeah, they've left that left-hand thermal and all moved to the right-hand thermal. Averages there anywhere between sort of 2 and 4 meters. Thilo still being patient, climbing just over 1 meter. Thilo now just over 3,000 meters. Sebastian Carver just underneath him, deciding to push on, going further east now. This is the ridge we were talking about earlier. There's sort of 3 ridges coming together. I presume the top of that there's going to be a good climb.
That's right, the top is a very good climb, and sometimes it's before you get there. And in this ridge you have a lift that will take you to the left side of the screen, and there's the climb.
Sebastian just stopped and found a climb. Looks like it's
but you
better
have
on
to
the first
go
part.
above 3,500 at least.
So as they work up the hill and they get nearer and nearer over the higher and higher part of it, the sun is warming that, and the air along the very top of the mountain is going to be much warmer, and that'll add quite an impetus to the thermals at that altitude.
So Sebastian climbing with Thilo. They've got an average of 2.5 to 3 meters. Just below them is Gintas from Lithuania and Alfa Romeo trying to get underneath. It might be just a bit too close to the scenery there. Meanwhile, this other group behind, a little lower, climbing 2.5, 3 meters, trying to get to the same altitude so they can run along at the top of the ridge to join them. Meanwhile, off to the left-hand side of the screen, Roman Merchek has left his climb, so he's made a break, unseen by the others. Roman at 2,747 meters, just coming into some reasonable energy, pulling up, slowing down, and then pushing on. Distance to go, only 5 kilometers for Roman. And Gintas, Mark Tingy, Sebastian and Thilo all very close together around the 10-11 kilometer mark, but higher. So Mario, where would you like to be? Where Roman is or where Thilo is?
Well, where Thilo is, of course. And from where Thilo is, you should go around that very, very steep ridge, which is facing north. Get a very good strong wind, and it takes you all the way up.
So why is Thilo come a little bit further right and Sebastian's gone straight?
I think that don't have enough height. Now you can see that Thilo is flying that ridge, and they have to go around to go straight to the point and come back. Roman probably what it's going to do is to get to that turn point and come back to that small ridge coming to the south of the turn point.
So Roman now only 2.3 kilometers to run. Gintas in Alfa Romeo 6.7. A little bit further down the ridge. Highest looks like it's Thilo, 3,165 meters. Sebastian a little bit lower and further left. Didier now appearing in the bottom of our picture, not wanting to let the leaders get away. We just watch as Roman now just a kilometre to run. We're getting good coverage today on this turn point. In this valley, there's a number of OGN receivers around, as well as one in an aircraft that's flying above them. And we get good coverage there as they go through the Toyota turn point, one of our local sponsors. Yeah, there's a question for you. How many SGP organisers can you get in the back of a Toyota? Have a look at the Facebook page and you'll see. So Roman through the turn point. Looks like our friend Gintis, well, his catchphrase, no problem. Looks like he'll be second through the turn point. So Mario, coming back from this turn point, where will you head for?
The same way that they are going, the same way that Papa, Sebastian Cava is going, is the same way that also Roman is coming back. Once you get to that ridge there, then you have to climb in that area.
That's the area just to the right of the screen. We'll see if we can give you a pointer. There we go.
That's right.
Thanks, Benji. Just there.
That's the area where you have to climb and go around. Once you get to that corner, it really helps.
No, Roman not very high there at 2,400 metres. Just through the turn point now is Gintis at 2,575 metres. And a long way above him is Sebastian at just under 3,000 metres. That looks like a more comfortable altitude to come back to the ridge.
Well, they spent some time to get that altitude, and now they're flying very comfortable. But we expect that Roman will have to catch something.
He's stopped to turn now.
To turn, yes.
Yeah, he's only a metre. It's just starting to centre it now, going up to 2 metres, nearly 3 metres. Gintis will have seen that and is going straight for him. They'll climb together. The group behind that are higher will understand that they're climbing, but will want a stronger thermal than that. And hopefully we'll get back to the ridge where you can see the other group top right of the screen coming off the ridge. And it's about how high you can get to that ridge.
That's right. If you get in the upper part, then it really helps you. Otherwise, you just sort of stay at the same altitude. It doesn't really help. We have to be careful because we know that there is some northeast wind. So sometimes those ridges that we used to fly on their northwest wind, they are a bit different in this condition.
Thanks for all your feedback on the live chat. It's really helpful. We'll try and take on board all your suggestions. Sebastian, a lot higher now than these two on the right hand side. Great visuals that we're getting here from Silent Wings and Benji, who's doing the driving. Roman and Gintis running along the right hand side of the ridge. Sebastian arriving above them.
And it's interesting, Sean, that we're not seeing much at the moment of Mario or Krummel. They're happy to stay behind. This looks like a cat and mouse day. It looks like it's going to be slower, and the technique of finding the weaker lift along the hills is going to make it tricky for the leaders, and the people behind are going to get a little bit of an edge on this. So I think we're going to see the group staying more or less together for the first part of this leg until they can get up a bit higher into the higher hills. They've got to get up into the higher mountains to carry on.
There's a great example here of Sebastian arriving a little higher and getting more energy as he runs along the top of the ridge there, while Roman struggles climbing below him, trying to get a decent core, going in and out of the thermal and eventually having to leave. Gintis being a little bit more patient, slowing down, using the energy he can get, trying to climb up to Sebastian's track. Meanwhile, behind is Thilo and Didier, all still very close together now.
The flight that Alfa Romeo is doing Günther Sube is not very good. Once you get inside of that turn, it doesn't really help. Most of the ridges are the ones that push the wind up, but not the round areas.
The bowl's not working.
No.
But the spines are, we think.
The spines work, that's right, yes.
So from this area now, they're almost heading due west, at 90 degrees to the track, but having to because there's quite a bit of scenery in the way, I guess.
The interesting thing is that no one has gone inside, as far as we can see from here.
Yeah, and by inside you mean to the left of the
left side of
ridge.
the screen. That's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
That's because the sun's on this side and the wind's on this side.
No, I think that they have realized that they're not going too high today. They might be around or flying around the 3,000, and with 3,000, they're got to get back to the lagunas, get some height, and continue south on the ridges.
So just a bit of a recap. Today has been a little weaker than yesterday, and they're flying in the first stage of the mountains and going up the first leg of 52 kilometers. The competitors pretty much stayed together, but flying on the west side, running and climbing, but nobody making any significant gains. Those that were able to make the most of the climbs came into the turn point first, and we saw Aroma Mercek arriving quite low, with Sebastian Cava and Thilo Hollyhouse arriving a lot higher, and Alfa Romeo Gentis somewhere in the middle. And this group now sticking together. Nice to see Mark Tingy there and Oscar Bravo up with the leading pack. Werner Arman just behind him in Whiskey Golf. We're not too far apart now. The group behind, we'll just take a look back in a second to see if we can see all the competitors. As Sebastian stops, looks like he might have found a climb there. Yeah, so all of the competitors now round the first turn point and heading down to TP2, which you can see top left of the screen. This is a distance of 50 kilometers. And the competitors are actually turning back on themselves now.
They are looking for any lift. No one is catching anything.
So this is quite interesting. The group behind that had a little extra altitude were able to run the ridge a little higher.
To continue, that's right, yes.
Yeah.
But they're just at the limit to cross to the next valley, going to the south.
Yeah, this will be an interesting picture from the cockpit, I should think, as you see the two groups coming together. So as they join together, we have Mario and the two Sebastians locked together now, closely followed by Didier, and then Roman Mercek, who's dug himself out of the hole he got himself into, Giorgio Galetto, Lucas and Gintis there, and Thomas Gosner and Golf Tango, all very close together. Yes, it depends what hand of cards you've been dealt, really, as to where you go for from here. Following the ridge around on the right.
We just follow the ridges.
Right.
Yeah, just follow the ridges all the way to the upper part of the screen. Once you get to the area of, or just coming into the Españoles, and if you have enough altitude, you can go and cross to the south east of the Españoles, where we can see the turn point. Otherwise, you have to continue to the Españoles until you get enough altitude to go across to the turn point 2.
So a much weaker, slower day than yesterday. All the competitors much closer together, nobody making a break for it.
And we've seen in that little move there, Sebastian Krummel nipping in front by swinging around the top of the mountain, having just enough height. It's he'll be feeling pretty cool that he's caught back up with Sebastian Carver and running with him now, and that will build his confidence, and he'll be happy to push on a little bit. But it's difficult to see why Thilo went right out into the valley like that. We'll see how he's done when he comes back on the hill.
It didn't have quite the same altitude as the others. I think that you know that route where they joined back together, Thilo must have been on the right-hand side and missed the energy line. 200 meters difference between the two groups here, with Mario at 3,075 meters and Thilo at 2,800 meters. So a couple of hundred meters in it.
But Mario is going to cross to the left side of the screen, but Thilo doesn't have enough.
He's stuck on the right. Yeah.
Stuck on the right, that's right. But he might continue going south, and there is a good area there to get some lift, or on a small gate to move to the left.
So we've got the opportunity here with the valley down the middle. We've got one group on the western side and one group on the eastern side.
That's right, yes.
And the group on the right are slightly lower. The one on the right. Sorry, the one on the left is slightly higher than the one on the right. Yeah, the split is really just all about altitude.
That's where Thilo should get a thermal.
He's got
to
some
move
good
to the
energy
left.
there.
Yeah. Or he just continue.
And Mario, will they continue to go east, the higher group, Whiskey Mike and India? Will they drop back to the left again onto the higher ridge?
I think that they're going to move to that ridge that we have in front there. Españoles is way on the top of the screen. And if they get there, they have to decide to jump to the south.
There's much steeper terrain they're coming up to now.
Yeah, that's right.
Good energy as they come over the top of the ridge there.
It's incredible that they're flying fast and getting some energy. I think that you should keep at least 200 meters more than what they're flying now to be able to cross to the turn point.
Sebastian Nagel now at 3,140 meters. Sebastian Kawa, very similar altitude behind him. Mario, we think, is just a little lower. Didier in the pack there, all very, very close together. All of this group now covering something like 2,000 meters. John Gatfield a little further back, but much higher, 3,470 meters. Mark Tingy on the right-hand side of the screen has got himself low again, 2,800.
Yeah, we can see that John and René that are behind, they stay and they went up to 3,500 meters. And from there, they want to come up on the higher part on the left side of the screen. And being able to go south.
Just watching them go around the
altitude
high ground here.
Yeah, the altitude they have here, it won't be able for them to continue straight to the turn point.
So they're going to have to climb.
They will have to climb.
Where will they be looking for a climb here, Mario?
Oh, that's the ridge that they have in front of them.
So just fly straight up to the ridge.
Yep,
and
that's right.
Hope it's sunny and windy.
Yeah, it is. That's a good area. The other possibility, instead of spending time going up, is to continue the ridge to the right side of the screen, and once they get the altitude, to move to the left of the screen to go to the turn point.
Yeah, just below the height of the ridge here, just running along trying to find a decent climb to get them over the ridge.
Okay, we have a report from Alex, who's flying with them, and the lower ridges had a little bit of cumulus on. and there is no cumulus on the Españoles or going to the south, and it's completely blue. But there's a high cloud and there's upper cloud which is spreading off the top of the mountains, creeping very slowly eastwards, but it doesn't look like it's going to be much of a problem. It looks completely clear now without cumulus to the next turning point.
Okay, that's good news. As we watch Mario running along the ridge, closely followed by Sebastian Nagel and Sebastian Carver. A little bit further to the right is Mark Tingey. He got himself real low yesterday and actually called his girlfriend and said, yeah, I know I'm being stupid, I'm going to fly out of here. And he did. Came back, landed safely.
We should see the ones that are in the back, because probably John and René, they're going to come higher. We can see that already René is coming higher, and he's going to go these three in the back following René. They're going to go to the left,
yes,
straight to the point.
They've taken a higher route.
A high route, that's right.
Being patient, climbed a bit higher, and then going almost straight towards TP2.
Yeah.
René taking another climb now. John will have seen him. John coming in underneath now. See if René can call that thermal. No, missed it, so he's moving on. Must be really tricky in that area. So this could be interesting. They are about 300-400 meters above the group ahead, but quite a long way back. John not able to get over that ridge, so having to be to go right, being forced right, whereas René's managed to cut left and go straight towards the turn point. If René can do this, he'll save himself something like 5 to 10 kilometers by running straight.
Yeah, that's right, yes. On the other hand, he will arrive with a high altitude to the next turn point.
Yeah, and if he can get to 10.3.
And from there, with that height, that might be enough just to fly it straight to turn point 4 and to finish.
Yeah, just a bit of a recap. This leg is 50 kilometers long, and it looks like René's flown about 20 kilometers of it, so he's got 30k to go. Meanwhile, the leading bunch on the right-hand side of track, further to the west, have stopped to climb. You'll see how their patience evolves, whether they stick with this relatively weak climb or whether they move on. Looks like Mario's had enough of it and he's pushed on. Distance to go now. Mario Kisling's only got 15 kilometers to run, whereas René, we were talking about before, 22 kilometers to run, so 7 kilometers behind, but taking a more direct route. That thermal didn't do it for them, and they were all moved on. And they've got an opportunity now to go left across the valley onto the next line of ridges, or they can carry on down the Españoles. Several competitors there trying to make that climb work. Nobody's got a good climb yet. So Mario's probably made the right decision and pushed on. And this ridge that they're heading towards, is there a good place to climb here, Mario?
It's a good place to pass through, but it's not very good place to climb. It is a ridge that they will just fly around and continue to the one that we have on the upper part of the screen, and from there to pass the other ridge to go to the turn point. That's right. We should be able to see where René Vidal is coming. He should be coming on the left side of the screen and trying to join them and on a straight line.
So John and René now.
That's right.
At altitude, climbing down the middle of that ridge. René now 3,380 meters, whereas Mario is 3,100. So 250 meters or thereabouts in it. They'll close the gap up. They'll certainly be in the pack, if not with the leaders. Just seen Giorgio Galetto there, a little lower than the others, coming in underneath. Mario now has reached the ridge with Sebastian Carvar. Good energy there at the moment. We'll see if they stop and turn on the corner. No, still pushing on. They have enough altitude now to make it to the turn point?
Yeah, they have enough altitude to make it to the turn point. The point is, from that turn point to the next one, you have to go through and over a very flat area. It's a high and flat area that is not very easy. Otherwise, you will have to go to the west around San Ramon to go to the turn point that we have exactly on the upper part of the screen.
Yeah, so we were talking earlier that we needed something like 2,600 meters at this next turn point to be able to run the rest of the task without stopping. But you're saying nearer 3,000.
Yeah, near 3,000, yes, yes.
We've not seen as much energy.
Yeah, but somebody could choose a tactic to take the turning point at this 2,500, cut right, and then ridge run at low level all the way to the south and all the way back. Some people will be tempted to do that, I'm sure. It depends a lot on how high they are at the turn as to if they can go direct or if they feel the need to run lower in the ridges.
And how well that ridge is actually going to work on that westerly face?
Well, it should be okay because the valley breeze we have is westerly. There isn't any wind at altitude that will help them, but once they get down to below 2,000 meters, especially down below 1,500 meters, then you can run quite fast. It's a bit risky, but it could be the fastest tactic.
Mario making the best of the ridge there, having gained nearly 200 meters by running along it. Sebastian Carvar just taking a turn there, just seeing if he can center it. Taken one turn. Let's see if he moves on. I think he's had enough. He's going to move on from there. Just getting that little bit of extra altitude. Bostian now coming in underneath. So out in front, Mario Kissling, followed by Sebastian Nagel in Whiskey Mike. And in third place is Ginter Zub from Lithuania in his 29. Followed by Sebastian Carvar. Giorgio Galetto and Yankee looks like he's got a good climb there. Certainly the first part of it is. The second half is not so good.
And we can see that there's a series of spines here. It's not really running along the ridge. It's a little bit of ridge running. Try to find a good core, take a few turns, jump over the top to the one behind, take a few turns, jump over the top, and then run down into the turning point. It would be interesting to see how fast they're going once they leave the mountains for the turning point. If they're flying slowly, they plan to carry on and stay high over the high ground. If they fly very fast, I think they'll go for the ridges and they'll take a lower route out into the valley.
So not far to run now. Mario 3 kilometers to the Toyota turn point 2. René Vidal joining on the back of the group. Didn't manage to make that work, but still staying high. René now 3,350 meters. Whereas Mario out in front is down to the 3,000 meter mark. We've got some incoming from Alex. See if we can get hold of Alex with a weather update.
Okay, Alex, what's going on? No, it looks like Alex is not connected for us.
Baloka, further south. We are cruising now towards Machali. We just passed Yerbaloka and 6 kilometers south of that turn point at 2,800 meters. You can see more mist today in the air. It's a little bit more foggy, but actually there are no clouds that are blocking any of the passes. So at this altitude, everybody is working itself behind San Ramon. There is a nice little marker of puff coming up behind San Ramon, and everybody's heading for that little cloud. That cloud shows up at around 3,200 meters, and everybody's
Alex,
cruising
thanks.
along 3,600.
Thanks for that, Alex. We'll call you. We'll hear from you later on.
Okay, talk to you in a while. Bye.
So as they go through turn point 2, we hear there's just one cloud in the sky. The rest is blue. So first through the turn point is in India is Mario Kisling. Second is Sebastian Nagel. Third is Gintis in his 29, and fourth Sebastian Carver. In fifth place, Bostian from Slovenia. And fourth looks like it's Werner Arman from Austria. Martingi low, but just able to squeeze into the turn point, possibly, from New Zealand. And Roman Mercek, who was our early pace setter. So what we're looking for now is the route that they're taking down the next leg. And we were expecting them to fly slower and high to the left, or fast and to the right.
Or maybe a split. Maybe some guys think the San Ramon and the ridges running to off the edge of the valley are going to be fast, and some guys think it's going to be better to go right over the top. And Mario is going to mark out for us here where he thinks they're going to head to.
Right. The area here.
That area is San Ramon, and what Alex was saying is that behind, that means east to San Ramon, there are some cumulus and clouds that probably the whole group is just heading to some clouds in this area. This area here is rather flat and high, so if you're gonna go through, you have to have enough altitude. There is another group who is already lower, and they're gonna move towards the other side to the west side of San Ramon, from here all the way, and from there to continue to the south.
So this
it's going to be interesting how, if this group is going to make it. They have a the altitude they're flying now is just good enough, unless once they get there they get an extra lift, and from there to go through.
And we're expecting the winds in the valley that you can see on the right hand side of the screen to be westerly, something like 5 to 10 knots, maybe a bit of south in it.
Usually southwest.
So altitudes
now Rene and John, they stopped to get a very good height. We can see on the screen almost to 3,800, and probably they're going to go straight to the turn point and straight to the next one, to number 3.
Do you really think now that even with that altitude they can catch up the distance that the others have managed to pull on them?
Well, if the other ones like Sebastian Nagel and Mario are flying, once they get to that flat area, if they are not able to go through, they will have to spend some time to going up, or they will have to go to the right side.
So the situation now is we've got two groups. One group going east or left of the screen that we look at it, with Sebastian Nagel and Mario Kisling, Sebastian Carver and Thomas Gosner. And on the right hand side we have Giorgio Galetto, Bostian, Werner Arman, Roman Mercek and Didier House. And in the middle we've got Gintis, who's decided to leave the group on the left and come back right.
Gintis might well have decided that they're not going to get there high enough to get over that ridge in front of them, and that there won't be good enough lift, and he's changed his decision, he's changed his tactics, and he's heading onto the ridge. We can see that our mountain rat in Giorgio, he's heading straight onto that ridge. He's going to feel quite comfortable. If he can get into that ridge lift, he's going to feel comfortable at running it all the way. I think it's a fascinating split here. We could see quite an interesting result to this decision.
This leg is down to turn point 3. It's quite long. It's 101 kilometres. So, yeah, they've got plenty of time for things to happen.
Yeah.
Just bringing you another visual of the group on the left, slightly higher. They're not pushing too fast, all around the sort of the 150, 170 mark. Using the energy when they can. Now that's the picture that they'll have. So they're going to come to the left of this,
that's
this
right,
ridge
but
on the right.
that gate that they have in front of them is very flat. If you get some strong southwest wind that will give you right in your nose, you could be in trouble. Either you don't pass or you have to turn and run away.
So
we're going to see what's going to happen.
The altitude they're at now, 2,600. That should be enough to get over the gate, but it's going to be close. Doesn't look like a very comfortable picture to me.
No, not at all.
Thomas Gostner following along behind.
I think they would have made the decision by now. I think they're confident they're going to get through. I think if they weren't going to get through, they would already have turned back. And from here, Mario, can they move on into the area south of this and climb, or will they have to then go west to San Ramon?
No, they would have just had to go west on the same line where we have the turn point 3, where is that mountain where we call the Cerro Blanco. So they're going to go that way.
Yeah, now we can see the two groups. Looked like they had enough height to get over that pass on the left-hand side. The group on the right, Gintis now at 2,200 meters, whereas Sebastian Nagel is 2,700 meters, 500 meters higher on the left. This group now not doing as well as we'd hoped, actually, on the west side, on the right-hand side of the screen.
But they are going pretty quick. Gintas is doing 220 kilometers an hour. He might be pushing down into the energy line. He might be of the opinion that he's only going to get the speed out of this at about 1,800 meters, something like that. And so he's pushing on with the anticipation it'll get better as he gets lower.
So your advice would be that energy band is lower down on this westerly ridge?
Well, that's the assumption. You can't expect to fly on this ridge at altitude because it's a valley breeze. So once you get above about 2,000 meters, there probably isn't any wind. And it's only the valley breeze that's going to push it. And we saw the last 2 days' finishers how fast they can go when they're at the 1,800 meter altitude.
Now this is quite interesting. The distance between the two groups to the turn point is almost identical now, but the group further east on the left-hand side of the picture are nearly 500 meters higher. This group down on the right with Bostian now, this terrain looks actually very similar to that in his home of Slovenia. Looking like he's enjoying it, certainly. Pushing on hard now. So Bostian out in front, closely followed by Gintis, and just behind him is Giorgio Galetto and then Werner Arman and Whiskey Golf.
This group is flying the west side of the San Ramon, and once they cross the Maipo River, or before they cross the Maipo River, they will have to get some better altitude. If not, they're not going to make it to the turn point 3.
Yeah, Rene and John did climb very high, but they're something like 12 kilometers behind. They will be probably going left.
They're
towards
going
the turn
straight
point.
to this in the same route of there they are. They're just flying much higher than the what Sebastian Nagel and Sebastian Cava did.
Yeah, we're just starting to pick up a little bit more data from that group on the left. Mario Kissling now 71 kilometers to run, and the group on the right with Bostian and Gintis 73 kilometers, so 2 kilometers in it. 2,400 meters on the left-hand side and 2,300 on the right.
And Alpha Tango there, they're only 10, 11, 12 kilometers behind now, and they've got 800 meters more. That's enough. They can catch them up at that. So effectively, they're up with the leaders again. It was a good tactic of René's to get the altitude back there.
The whole fleet now within 13 kilometers. Distance to run 69 kilometers to the 101 they have of this leg.
The important thing here is that after crossing that river, Maipo River, you should arrive above the ridge to continue to the south. Otherwise, you will have to turn to make up that difference. This group here is arriving just at the limit.
Sebastian Calva now 2,350 meters. Just running along the top of the ridge here, pulling up when he can. Be interesting to see what they do at the end here. See if they've got enough altitude to get over, or whether they'll have to peel off right. And will anybody go to the left?
No. Should always go to the right, but they didn't have enough height to go above the ridge. Now they will have to turn around, and they're going to go to the Cerro Blanco, and they will have to turn at the Cerro Blanco. The whole group is going to have to turn.
So there's the two groups coming together again now. The lower group running fast across the valley. Meanwhile, the slightly higher group with Sebastian Calva and Mario Kissling and Sebastian Nagel just coming back left a little, following the line of the ridge around. It looks like they've flown for longer in ridge lift than the group on the right.
Yeah.
So the group slightly higher on the left-hand side of the picture, running on the ridges, where the group on the right are having to cross the valley, which is much wider at the bottom.
Whoever gets first to that area that we have marked, that's Cerro Blanco, and enough height to get in the upper part of the ridges, we just continue flying to the turn point 3 and back. If you don't get above that, you will have to turn and make up the difference. That's going to happen to all of the ones that are flying on the right side of the screen, and also to the ones that are flying on the left side.
Mario, how far is it across the river valley? From leaving this mountain to the other side, how far is that across?
That's about 15 kilometers.
Well, that's going to be a long glide.
It is, yeah. You can see them there, just gliding there with no much of ridge support.
And we're just working on a new view for you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Sebastian and Mario running along the top of the spine there. Close with them now, Thomas Gostner and Golf Tango. And the two groups joining back together. It looks like the route to the left was more advantageous than the one on the right. Yeah, the leaders now just confirming
just flying,
trying to maintain their altitude. Just looking at Sebastian Nagel's height, 2,200 meters, where René and John Gatfield, who climbed very high behind, are now down at 2,400 meters, and still some distance behind.
That's a classic example of how the altitude isn't an advantage, because they're flying outside the energy zone. So they might have had a lot of height, but they've been gliding in pretty still air without much energy, whereas the group that pushed on harder have been in the energy zone, and they've been getting a much better performance out of their gliders. It's going to be interesting to see how the lower group manage this, to see how they're going to cope with getting across this gap.
Yeah, and also interesting, somebody we haven't seen for a while, Thilo. He made a mistake just after the first turn point and ended up getting himself low and stuck, and he's playing catch up and certainly quite low at the moment. Thilo won't be quite so happy with himself there. And meanwhile, back at the front, Mario just pushing out in the lead. Sebastian happy to stay in second. In third place is Sebastian Nagel, and fourth is Thomas Gostner. Thomas will be happy. Bostian leading the second group and chasing them, but they are 300 meters below the other group. So that really didn't work going right. So just to recap, John Gatfield and Rene Vidal stayed high and went quite a long way left, but weren't able to stay in the energy. There was a group in the middle with Sebastian Carver, Sebastian Nagel and Mario Kiesling went down the middle, and then another group on the right hand side tried the westerly route lower down in the energy band, and that hasn't worked as well either. So middle route. So the leader's now crossing the valley, coming on to the next ridge.
And Mario, is there ever a situation where this just doesn't work? Is it absolutely reliable that they'll be lifted along these ridges, or could it be that if the wind is a bit more south today, that in the valley, that it just doesn't work?
Most of these ridges are looking west, and this time of the day, the sun is just straight on. Usually it's a southwest wind. Sometimes it's stronger, sometimes it's weak, but there's always a lift. Always there's a good lift at this time of the day.
Just working the energy on this ridge, just watching the different techniques between Mario and Sebastian. Mario pushing a little bit harder, Sebastian able to take even more energy out of the ridge, just eking out 5-10 meters when he can. Thomas Gostner now in the mix. He likes this kind of racing. Sebastian Nagel just biding his time, just a fraction higher, just watching what's going on in front.
This could be a good decision. Instead of climbing, just to continue on the ridges.
We're getting a masterclass now from Sebastian.
That's the reason why we're on a race.
Mario just a little lower. Wonder if you can make up the difference.
Yeah, they are lower, but that ridge is. But you can see that all of them are catching up.
Just under 140 kilometers to go now. This leg is quite long. It was 101 kilometers. The next leg is 91k. So just trying to do the sums. Yeah, we've got the distance now. Mario got 44.6 kilometers to run. Sebastian behind him, but a little bit higher, further left and up the ridge.
I think it's time to get a little bit clever here, and Mario, I think he should be slowing down a little bit and bringing himself back up to the same level. You just can't get the better energy if you're lower down on these slopes. You need to be within 100 meters or so of the top of the mountain. And Mario's forced out occasionally by the little parts of the mountain that stick out, has to fly a bit further, and he doesn't get the energy there. And that can cost him dearly. It's time to just to not to be in the lead, but just be a little bit behind the others.
We just saw before the picture changed that the group behind were that little bit lower and had to stop and climb. So there'll be an even bigger gap between this group of four. In fact, the group below have stopped climbing, and they're now pushing out further to the west.
Yeah, that's right. They're looking for the ridges are far to the west, and that's a very good bet because you have to go, or you're going to go very low constantly.
Mario coming off west now, and he'll end up on the same ridge as this group being led by Bostian in Echo Juliet. Sebastian Cava a little higher and a little further to the left will reach the ridge pretty much at the same time, but higher and further along it. Whiskey Mike Sebastian Nagel not too far behind, 713 metres, and Thomas Gostner a little bit further left and just a fraction higher. Sebastian now taking the lead, Mario slowing down and just gaining a little extra height, coming back up on the same line.
Now here you had to go around two spines that are coming from the east to the west, and you have to make a decision either if you go inside to continue on the ridges or just to cross, and you have to fly or continue flying until you reach the further down the ridge that will take you to the turn point.
It's classic ridge flying along here. This is not ridge flying as we would in northern Europe in just the wind. It's using a valley breeze, which is convective. It's the sun. It's powered by the sun, and so the better slopes will be the ones that are more sun orientated, have more heat on them, and the ones which can draw the breeze out of the valley. And it's at this time when, as you see the ridge gets lower, maybe the guys behind will start to close that gap a little bit.
So this group deciding to go straight on, not work the left-hand side of the ridge. Sebastian out in front now, 1900 metres, closely followed by Sebastian Nagel and Mario Kissling, and in fourth place currently is Thomas Gostner from Italy. So JS1 just out in front, followed by three new Ventuses.
Once you get to this area, you have to cross that small valley that we have in front, and it's not a small distance. That should be around 8 kilometers. That means that you have to get that ridge that you have in front. Once you get there, you might get enough lift to go to the turn point and back.
So from the current position they're in, they will fly straight across the valley now towards the turn point?
No,
or do you think they'll come left?
No, they're going to fly. They're going to fly more or less in the direction to the turn point to reach this area here, and then you just go around to the south.
Okay. So Sebastian just out in front. Sebastian Nagel on his left wingtip now. Very close together. You see them just picking up little bits of energy, slowing down, pulling up, pushing on as the sink. Just 300 meters between them. Looks like we're going to have yet another very close race.
Yes.
We had a question about the different types of gliders. What we've tried to do is to equalize them as best we can using wing loading. They have a maximum of 52 kilos per square meter. Each of the different types of gliders have got different wing area. So each glider is carries different amounts of ballast to equalize them up at 52 kilos.
These guys are coming lower.
Yeah, the group behind, led by Bostian and Giorgio Galetto and Werner Arman, they're all
and Didier
about 50 meters lower. Roman Merchek in Quebec X-Ray, who led at the beginning, arrived at the first turn point quite low, hasn't lost touch, he's still with them. Alfa Romeo, that's Gintis Sub. Gintis was up with this leading group of 4, decided to cut right to join the group running the westerly ridge. Didn't look like that was the best decision. So just looking ahead at the leaders as they come back onto the ridge, having crossed the valley. Sebastian now pulling up in the energy. And looks like we might have an incoming report. Hello Alex, can you tell us what the weather's doing?
Hi, Brian. Well, we're running along the ridges 20 kilometers north of the southern waypoint. I would have expected the ridges to be a little bit stronger, more supportive. The wind is not very strong, about 10-15 kilometers from the southwest, so it's very good oriented to the ridge. But somehow the ridge is not really giving a lot of support. But everybody is running along it. There are no clouds, no markers. A little bit of mist in the valley. But it looks like everybody is trying just to use the energy of the ridge.
Okay, thanks for that, Alex. We'll see you when you come back.
Okay, yes, we'll be turning back in a while. We'll see you on shore. Bye-bye.
So that's Alex, our eye in the sky, giving us an idea of what the conditions are like, and he's reporting that the conditions are pretty weak, with the winds not as strong as normal. A bit of haze down in the valley, just slowing everything up. So these guys will have to be on their top form to get there and back. Great pictures now. You can see pretty much what the pilots will be seeing out of the window. Mario a little further down the ridge, Sebastian comfortable, and just above him, Sebastian Nagel. Just watching them run round the corner here.
Yeah, I can almost hear Thomas Gostner laughing from here. He'll be having an absolute hoot of a time. He knows he's with the leaders. He's with 3 of the top pilots in the contest, and he'll be thinking to himself, right, I'm not going to lose these guys. I don't care what they do. We're all going together. And he'll be cruising along there feeling really pleased with himself at the moment. As they would say in Varese, Forza Italia.
Yes, actually, I don't think I've ever seen Thomas not smiling. Actually, he enjoys life, that's for sure. And an extra grin today. Big pull up from Sebastian there, and taking a turn. We weren't expecting that. But if it's as good
I think
as he hopes,
that's a smart decision.
Is it smart, or can he centre it? The others have moved on.
It is difficult to center that one because it's just coming out of the ridge, but you have to fly very steep.
That could either have been a good thing or a bad thing.
It could be tactical. This could be a tactical turn. He's decided that it's a little bit like the Tour de France. I've been out in front for long enough, you guys. Here's a strong middle lift. I'll pull up and turn in it, and now I'll watch what you do and see if you're going to make a mistake and I can get an advantage from it. Very clever, very tactical move.
So just putting a bit more pressure on Sebastian Nagel, 26 years of age, we think, out in front. Looking to Mario on his left-hand side now. Just watching as they cross this river valley. And the name of this valley, Mario?
We call this area the Leonera. That means sort of a lion's place.
The place of lions. Do they have lions in Chile?
Puma.
Pumas. Oh, okay.
Puma.
Yeah.
No, the African lion. No.
Yes. The group behind have decided to stop to turn.
Yeah, they have to.
They're not that much lower, but that valley looks quite a distance to get to the ridges on the other side. Giorgio Galato
that
seems
should
to be
at
happy to
least
move on.
12 kilometers. I don't know if Giorgio Galeto is going to get that ridge or if he's going to the runway in Rancagua, the city that we have in the upper right corner of the screen.
Giorgio is still at 1,500 metres. This other group with Didier in 1,700 metres now.
Yeah, he's flying at 1,500 meters, but we have 800 meters of the ground. So he's flying around 700 meters above the ground.
Above the valley floor, yeah. So that'll push him a little further west onto the ridge in front of him.
That's right, yes, yes. There's René. René is flying at 1900.
Yeah, looks like the leading group have stopped to climb. We'll just see if we can bring you that. No, they're just pulling up and running along the ridge there. At a bit more of a comfortable altitude. Sebastian Nagel now at 1,800 metres. Mario just a fraction lower, 1,650.
As a matter of fact, with this height, with this altitude, they should go to the turn point and come back to the finish line.
So this tactical turn, Brian, that Sebastian made, he's dropping back a little.
Yeah, well, it's a critical part of the flight. He wants to be with them on the run back. If he's got 50 to 100 metres more when they leave the ridge to go to the turning point, and he can then use that altitude to put his speed up, and he wants to be just a bit above and behind on the run back. It's not a question of how fast you go, it's a question of where you are in a position. And these four know that they're out in front, and the important thing now is to be in the front at the end. No real advantage being in the front at the turning point, but to be as tactical as you can. We saw on the first day how Thilo pushed a little bit too hard on the ridge when he was out in front, and the result is he was caught up by Sebastian. You've got to get it just right. You've got to get the timing of it right and the altitude and the speed just right.
It's interesting watching the different styles here, with Mario a little bit further down the ridge, a little bit more aggressive, Sebastian Nagel a little bit more conservative, staying a little higher, and Thomas just being a hooligan behind him. Nice pull up there from Sebastian as he comes up onto the top of the ridge. Mario down on the right hand side. The altitude between them certainly stretching a little bit now. Sebastian Nagel on the top of the ridge, followed by Thomas Gostner. Mario will arrive on the ridge just as it dips down a little. Sebastian Carver behind, just following around the bowl, and he'll appear on the top of the ridge in a second. Mario not able to make it onto the ridge and having to come right. That little difference in altitude has meant that Mario's dropped behind now.
Yeah, and every time you do that, you lose those few seconds. And we've seen the finish will be within hundreds of meters of each other, and he's just flown another 100 meters. And every time he does it, he adds another a problem for the finish, that he just can't close that gap. He's got to get on the top of the ridge with the other guys if he's going to keep the same achieved speed and stay with them.
Not far to the 10 point now, just under the 10 kilometre mark. Just wondering how the guys are getting on behind. We'll try and bring you that view. And in terms of distance, Sebastian Nagel now 6.7 kilometres to run, and René Vidal and John Gatfield between 11 and 15 kilometres to go. So 10 kilometres back now. Yeah, just looking at Giorgio and Yankee, certainly not as high, but he pushed straight on. this is his environment. His nickname's the Ridge Rat, and he'll be enjoying this. He's not going to get over that spine, but he's going to have to work his way around it. Picking up some energy now. Will he cut left around the bowl or not? I don't know. Mario's making spinning motions with his finger, thinking he should climb, but Giorgio defying all of us and pushing on. So the leader's getting close to the turn point now, only 4 kilometres to run.
And we can see the line that Didier had to take well out from the top of the ridge, and the altitude gap, the energy gap, has opened up. And I think that that Sebastian and the two Sebastians have pulled away a little bit there. They've probably pulled away by 100 meters or so just by being on the top.
So Thomas Gosner now, having worked the top of that ridge, right up behind Sebastian Nagel, very close indeed. Mario dropping back a little, as he was a little lower on the right-hand side of the ridge. Sebastian Carver having caught him up now. So 2 pairs as we run into the turn points. Just 2 kilometres to run now for Sebastian Nagel. The winner of 2 races so far, Sebastian Nagel, didn't have such a good day yesterday. Just dropped a few points from Sebastian Carver, but looking good for today. Not a lot in it. And we still have another 90 odd kilometres of racing to go as we go through the Milvis turn point here. Milvis Clothing, a great supporter of gliding, good gliding clothes. First round the turn is Sebastian Nagel, closely followed by Golf Tango Thomas Gosner, and very close between Mario and Sebastian Carver. Sebastian taking a slightly different route through the turn point. Almost together now, the pair of them.
Yankee will be at home because he's wearing his Milvis flying suit, so Giorgio will be happy with this turn.
And very smart indeed it is.
Very smart. But he wishes he'd be higher.
Yeah, Mario's saying is very low, and this group running in behind, they're not far apart now.
Well, now they've got the wind behind them. The southwesterly wind, they've been running the ridges, but they've been running with a little bit of a headwind. Now they're going to be running with a tailwind, and we'll see the ground speeds go up. There'll be 20 kilometres an hour more, and we'll see a very quick run home. As long as they keep working, they're going to be coming 150 kilometres an hour maybe along this leg, and this average speed so far is about 135. So we're probably going to be back up in the 140 kilometres an hour for the task.
Yep. Not bad. Great puzzle set by us, by our task setter today, Alfonso. He's a cool dude actually. He's got loads of experience here in the mountains and been setting some wonderful puzzles for the competitors. As we watch the leaders, Sebastian Nagel, and now Sebastian Carver has just managed to catch up. That turn he did, we saw Mario lose almost 100 meters in the turn, and Sebastian just clipped the edge of it, brought him back onto the ridge, managing to maintain his energy through the turn, and now actually he's just pushed out in the lead.
That's right.
If anybody wants lessons in how to take the turning point, just go and look at the races be rerun and watch Sebastian Carver go through the turning points. He gets it absolutely nailed. Turns just at the right moment, so the furthest point of the turn just touches in the zone and he's on his way back again.
These 4 now locked together, working their way around the ridges. 1,600 meters. I'm just going to look at the distance between the gliders. There's absolutely nothing in it. 200 meters. That's a blink of an eye.
They should try to go fast, but try to keep the altitude. Even if they can get some, it will be much better, because they had to cross several valleys in the way back home, and with 1,600 meters, they're just there.
One thing's for sure, Mario, nobody's going to give way. Nobody's going to turn. They're going to push, 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 push. The one turn here and you're in 4th place. And that's critical now. Everybody might just fly a little bit slower to keep their altitude, but there won't be anybody stopping to turn, I'm sure of that.
It's interesting to watch the different techniques here. Sebastian Cava seems to use every single contour, whereas Mario flies much straighter lines.
Mm-hmm.
Total energy now on the right hand side. This is a measure of how much they've got to make up to get to the finish line. You can see at the top left of the screen. Just turning right round this ridge. Just losing a few data points here. We'll pick them back up as they come round the corner. Mario just a fraction behind. Sebastian now just consolidating his lead.
So they've got 84 kilometers to go. They've got about 800 meters above the airfield at the moment, and they need another 1,800. So those guys are really good at mathematics. I'm sure you can work out what glide angle they need to achieve to get home.
Yeah, I think they've got to fly uphill from here, haven't they, almost? And that's just what they're doing. Sebastian just pulling out a little in front now. Sebastian Nagel just trying to keep Thomas behind him. And just at the bottom of the screen, we've got Alpha Tango. That was Rene. Rene had that little bit of extra altitude, and he's turned that into a bit of speed and caught up some of the distance in front. So Rene having a good day.
He's got his engine up.
Brian's saying he thinks he's got his engine up, but I don't think he has. He's local. He knows these ridges really well. And perhaps he can use his intimate knowledge of that to catch the guys in front and make it even more of a spectacular finish. Rene flying Aventus 3 as well.
As great a pilot as Rene is, I don't see how he can close this gap. He's got to do something really special to close his gap, and there's not much you can do. You just got to stick on the ridge, fly the contours, and be as efficient as you can, and just pluck that right speed out of the air so that you're making the best compromise between speed and altitude so you can cross each of the gaps.
Distance now between Sebastian Cava and Sebastian Nagel, 320 meters. Not a lot in it. These four pretty much locked together. Rene now something like 4 kilometers behind, so 3 or 4 kilometers behind. Just looking at the bottom of the screen, just seen Didier at 1200 meters, followed by Gintis in Alfa Romeo. That's probably going to be quite uncomfortable. Well, Didier's used to flying in the French Alps, where there seems to be lots of energy at the bottom of the hills. Or certainly Didier seems to be able to find lots of energy at the bottom of the hills.
Usually when we take people on the first or second flight to this area, we usually tell them, once you get to 2,000 in Leoneras, you get back home.
Mm-hmm.
Here we're seeing people flying at 1,500, and I hope no one else in this club is going to take that type of flight.
Well, of course, the speeds they're flying, if they pulled up, they would have 2,000, so that could be comfortable with that.
Sebastian now just crossing this valley.
Really, with less than 2,000, we just tell them, listen, you just go straight to the airfield in Rancagua.
Yeah, Mario Kissling now back out in the lead.
Slow.
75 kilometers to run. Sebastian literally 100 meters behind him, but a little higher and further right.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it, Sean? Either he just couldn't get the energy line because he was lower, or he's pushed too hard. It doesn't make any sense to push from lower because you're bound to be caught at the end. And really, you've got to stay in that energy gap. You've got to stay up at that 1,700 to 2,000 meter mark, and much below that, and you're going to be flying further.
Sebastian staying in that band, 1736 metres now, as we see Mark Tingey coming back the other way. Yeah, they've got Flam on board, so they'll know that they're passing. They'll be waving at each other with possibly more than one finger, Brian. So situation is Sebastian Carver out in front, closely followed by Thomas Gostner and Sebastian Nagel, and just off to the right is in India is Mario Kisling, our winner from yesterday. Yeah, we're just seeing Mario slow down a bit and just take a little bit of altitude. He wants to arrive at the same kind of height as the others in front and see if he can work a little bit more energy out of the hill as they arrive on this spine. Great scenery from Silent Wings. And just coming into the energy now, he's just seen Sebastian Nagel pull up a little. Sebastian Carver cutting right. We'll just watch the vario indicator. You see the lift as he runs up the spine. The other three following closely behind. Thomas Gostner just cutting in front of Sebastian Nagel. Now this is truly flying uphill by the look of it.
What do you think, Mario? This is one of the ridges where they've really got to pull it back up a little bit to get across the river valley that's coming up.
Yeah, that's right. From where Sebastian Cava is now, he's going to get a very good lift on that ridge. This is the last long ridge where you can catch some height. After that, you have 2 or 3 valleys to cross. Not much energy, but just some lift occasionally. But this is a constant, good ridge flying.
Fascinating to watch Sebastian just gain a little extra height but still maintain the distance in front of the chasing group of Sebastian Nagel, Thomas Gostner and Mario Kisling. 66k to run. Spectacular scenery. Sebastian just using all of the contours now to maintain the altitude, sucking every bit of energy out of it. He's pulling up now as he reaches the next spine, and he'll cut left and round it. Meanwhile, behind Thomas doing the same thing.
Way out.
Another big river valley coming up in front. Sebastian just taking another pull up. Very close with the 3 behind.
It would have been nice to leave this one at 17 to 1800 and not 1600, because they're going to lose at least 100 metres crossing the valley, probably more, and you wouldn't want to arrive down at 1400 metres, would you, Mario?
You don't want, and you just right. That's right. You don't want to go under the 1400. You have this small valley, then you have a next one, and then you get into the long area of Rio Maipo, and that's going north. This is going to be the last lift before going into this small valley.
We're just going to change the view to see the group just behind, and we can see that Didier is down at just over 1,000 meters. That's 250 odd meters above the deck, so he needs to climb. Also in a little bit of trouble is Giorgio Galetto at 1,450 meters, and Gentis there in the middle in Alfa Romeo. He needs to climb too, and Thilo joining in at the bottom. But just moving back towards the front, we can see that Alpha Tango, that's René Vidal, our local Chilean pilot, is not too far away from that leading group now. Just a little bit of extra height, 1,675 metres as he crosses the valley. He'll be able to see them out in front. Won't be able to do too much about it though, Brian.
No, maybe we check the distance between Rene and Thomas and see if he can close that up before they're finished, because they've still got 60 kilometres to go. And we saw what happened with the other group. Once they got below 1,400 metres, they've gone down. They're going to have to scrabble around to try and get up again. Luckily, Mario, I think there's quite a few fields down there in that area.
To the left side of the screen, there are no fields to land. There are some. There are no airfields. There are just some fields that you can land there. But the best thing they can do is to go to the runway that we have in Cerro Blanco. But that means that you have to cross two valleys, and Didier doesn't have enough altitude to cross the gate to go to the airfield.
Didier climbing now, so he's been there before. He'll be able to get himself up. Meanwhile, ahead, the group in the front still need to make 1,000 metres according to our goal arrival height. So plenty of energy to be gained yet on the next run. They've got about 50 kilometres to run now.
And Zulu, Thomas Reich, local guy, I think he's still in the 0 Point Club.
He is.
So he's happy because he's looks like he might well come home with a point today, and that'll make him very, very happy indeed. He's lying currently in 6th place, and looking at the situation there, he could easily remain in 6th place all the way to the end. It would be nice to catch up on the distance between Rene and Golf Tango sometime, Benj, and then we can just see if he closes that up. It looks like he's closing it up all the time.
Yeah, just bringing you the distance. It's just under 2 kilometres between Golf Tango and Alpha Tango. That's Rene and Thomas Gosner.
It's a big ask to catch up 2 kilometres. And sorry about that. We mentioned Sebastian. We mean Kummel sometimes, and we mean Sebastian Carver sometimes. So we'll try to make sure we differentiate there.
Yeah, so just to confirm, that Sebastian Carver out in front. 2nd place is Sebastian Nagel, and in 3rd is Thomas Gosner. Mario Kisling in India, just a little bit behind. And in 5th place we have Rene Vidal in Alpha Tango. So a lonely JS1 being followed by 4 Ventus 3s. Rene looks just a fraction lower there, but he knows the ridge is probably best of all.
Yeah, she should get some lift there.
I'm just going to change the view. Sebastian hasn't disappeared into the Sebastian Carver hasn't disappeared into the scenery. He's just gone over the ridge. Just pulling a little bit more of an advantage out over Sebastian Nagel. Krummel. Thomas cutting right, flying a little further. Looks like 706 metres in it now. Mario a little lower, but just in front of Thomas Gosner.
Wonder what's going through Kummel's mind now. He's looking ahead. He's seeing 10 times world champion Sebastian Carver in front of him, and he's thinking to himself, I've got to finish before him if I want to stand a chance of winning this competition tomorrow. And he'll be looking at himself and looking at the Sebastian thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to close that gap? And how am I going to try to get in front of Sebastian Carver in the next 50 kilometres?
Yes, he's currently 5 points behind. Sebastian Carver has got 32 points and Sebastian Nagel 27. And if they finish as they are at the moment, Sebastian Carver will score 10 points, assuming there's no penalties, and Sebastian Nagel, if he's in 2nd place, will score 8 points. So the gap will increase. Just losing a little bit of tracking data as they get lower in the hills. Sebastian Carver now at 1,700 metres. He's already made up 350 metres of the 1,000 metres he needed to get home. So the energy working well out of these ridges. Just
usually from here they go straight to that white mountain that what we call Cerro Blanco, and pass through using all the energy of all these small hills that we see there. And from there you go straight to cross the Maipo River, and from there to the area of that's right. That's perfect. And from there to the finish line.
We're just watching this group flying towards the Cerro Blanco. Sebastian Carva out in front. Mario Kiesling now a little lower and just on his left wingtip.
Mario has to go to the left, but that's not a bad idea, because those hills that he's going to fly now, they have a lot of energy. Look at that. That's a tactical turn.
Yeah, just seeing if the Vario settles down and seeing if that's worth taking or whether he'll move on.
Thomas Gosner is following the energy line.
Well, if Kummel doesn't turn, he's closed up the gap, but there's a slight altitude difference. But that's I'm surprised at Papa turning there, but never know. Yeah, perhaps that we sometimes the flarm is adjusted so it doesn't see very well forward or back, and maybe he can't see how close the guys are behind him, and he did a turn to have a look, but I doubt that's the case.
Was he just playing games with them, do you think?
There is only one game now, and that's stay at the right level and keep the speed just right so that you don't get too low and you don't get too high. If you can just choose the level on each of these ridges, then you're going to make the most efficient run back. We can see they're closing the energy gap all the time. They're down to less than 600 meters now. By the time they're on the hills after the river, they'll be down to about 300 meters energy gap, and then we're beginning to see a fairly easy run home. Mario, do you think?
Well, we hope there's going to be an easy run, because Mario's quite low.
Yeah, they're just trying to get or any bit of energy that you can have there without turning.
Mario got a good climb there, just off the end of the spine there, just pulling left, maintaining 4-3, dropping off on the other side of the turn.
Mario will have to turn.
Of course, what seems to be happening is that maybe it's just a bit too weak. Maybe the lift is just a bit too weak, and Sebastian Carver thought, yeah, okay, well, on most days we can run really fast, but today maybe we should be a bit more cautious. Maybe it wasn't a tactical turn, but maybe it just could be that they're feeling a bit less confident about this than they were earlier. But the energy gap, which is closing, indicates that there shouldn't be an issue. They should be able to run home in the ridge lift all the way.
Now this is interesting, with Thomas now 680 meters in front of Sebastian, but he's 150 meters lower. This will be another exciting finish. How many times has the lead changed now down this leg? Is it 3 or 4 times?
Yeah, at least, yes.
Wonder how
Thomas Gosner in this hill should get all the energy that he can. He's a bit low. He has at least 100 meters of difference.
Now don't forget, these competitors have to cross the finish line at 850 meters or above. That's above sea level. The airfield height here is 684 meters.
Mario kept turning.
We're just checking to see what happened with Mario. Mario is now back with Rene Vidal. Similar altitudes. Rene just 20-30 meters higher. Very exciting finish coming up for us here. In terms of energy required, Sebastian Carver 360 meters, 370 meters as they cross the valley. Thomas Gostner needs just a fraction more at 480.
So Mario, the last hill, the San Remo, which they're going to come onto when they've crossed the last of the river valleys, is that really reliable if you're very low? Can you rely upon it pulling you back up for the energy if you get there really low, or do you need to get there at a decent altitude?
Well, that's a good point. If you get below 1300 meters, then the San Ramon hill gets very flat, so then you don't get much help of the southwest wind. So you have to go a bit higher to get the the vertical area of the lift. These guys are going, I think that they're going to arrive just exactly there.
Thomas just slowed down a little there just to take a little bit more height, and Sebastian Carver just went past him knowing there was going to be better lift around the corner, and nice pull up there.
So what we might see now is proof that you can arrive at 1300 meters and pull it back up, and it's just as possible that we might see that somebody arrives below 1300 meters and it doesn't work. It'll be very interesting for us to observe exactly how they manage to pull it back on San Remo.
Sebastian Carver now just working round the edge of the bowl, just pulling out a bit of a lead over Thomas. Thomas slowed right up to gain a little bit of more energy, but Sebastian seemed to know where the lift was going to be and pulled up just at the right time. They can almost taste the finish now. Sebastian Carver now 200 meters required, half a kilometre in front. Thomas and Sebastian Nagel wingtip to wingtip. And we now see the final valley in front of us. Rivers coming down from the mountain, bringing the meltwater down. So where will they be aiming for now, Mario?
They should aim this area around here, trying to go and fly this lift all the way up there. And after that they turn to the left because they don't have enough height to go through, and turn around there. That's right. This line here, it's a power line.
Yeah, the white lines, we've seen this before.
Yeah,
and
we've seen that.
Having the right altitude here is very important.
You had to go there. And once you turn to the right side to the San Ramon, do you have to have enough height to get close to the hill and not get the lines between you and the hill?
I'm sure our Chile fans want to see where Rene is.
We'll just scroll back and see where Mario and Rene have got to. So Rene just overtaking Mario. Pretty much the same altitude. Rene, we think, will cut right a little in a minute.
Looks like Rene's going to arrive at 1300 meters, Mario, so he's going to test the theory.
I hope it's not going to work for him. He's taken another track, and Mario is following him. If we see up in the upper part of the screen, what he's trying to do probably is to arrive in this area of the hill, a bit lower, right here. And then you get there and you continue flying the ridge all the way up until you get to the power lines and get close to the hill. That's right.
And is that a shorter distance than the group to the right are having to fly?
No, it's just that the right side you get the support earlier. In this side, you get the support at the end. You see the other guys are flying on the right side, close to 3 meters.
They've reached the hill and they're getting the energy off the ridge
that's
there.
The area.
Sebastian Nagel now at 1400 meters and Thomas Gostner 1357. Sebastian Carver not having pulled out much more of a lead. Big sink now on Sebastian as he cuts back left to get over this ridge where the power lines, the white line you can see underneath him. Coming back round to the right now, back into the energy, and the aim to be on the right hand side of the power lines for the run home. Sebastian Nagel just a fraction higher, Thomas Gostner close on his heels.
Can we look at the distance bench? Can Kummel pull that back with that little advantage of height he's got? We need to check the distance twixt them.
We're just working to bring you the distance between the two gliders, 370 meters.
And yeah, he's only got 20 meters. It's almost it's impossible to say, but it's going to be very close. And has Alpha Tango managed to get back onto the ridge? We're very interested to know that what Ren is doing. Is he managed to get in the lift?
We're making Benji work really hard here. Alpha Tango, that's and India, very close. There's some power lines coming up in front of them, and they've got to cross over the top of it. Just managing to climb up the hill.
Yeah, they're going up, so they've managed to do it, and they're at just below 1,300 meters. So you must tell the guys in Vitico, you can do it, but don't try it. Don't try this at home, folks. It's too nerve-wracking.
You see the slope. Mario's just pointing out how flat it is to the left-hand side, and they're desperately trying to get further right.
To go just further right to get everything, every bit of energy.
Yeah, the speed's dropping off. They're trying to work the energy, climb up to the right a little more. They'll follow the shape of the hill round to the right. We'll bring you the energy calculator in a second. And Sebastian Nagel now is on glide. Thomas Gostner on glide too. Sebastian Carver on glide. Mario still 100 meters underneath. So is Rene. Distance between the two Sebastians now 340 meters, and in terms of altitude 50 meters in height. So maybe Sebastian Nagel here has learnt a few things from Sebastian Carver, and he's just holding back a little bit of extra altitude.
This is really interesting, but it's just possible that Kummel's got a strategy here. It's just possible he thinks he might have enough energy to catch up. We're going to lock that on for a while, and what's going to be critical is the turn, the control turn. We know that Sebastian Carver is a master at the control turn. Now we're going to find out if Kummel is as good and if he can do it the same way. Otherwise, he'll definitely lose that gap.
The difference in points between first and second is 10 points or 8 points. So that 2 points would narrow the gap if Kummel can get in front of Sebastian Carver.
Yeah, realistically, if Kummel wants to have a chance of winning this Grand Prix, he needs to beat Sebastian Carver back today. Because if he allows the gap to open another 2 points, it becomes really difficult on the last day for him to get those points. So he knows that. He's working on it. All of his maturity and his skill is being channeled now into that problem. How can I get that 190 meters back? He's still got a tiny advantage on altitude, but not much. It's only 20 meters or so. But we've seen him close the gap. What could be, of course, be interesting is the difference between the JS1 and the Ventus 3. There may just turn out to be a tiny difference.
And that's a debate that will rage for weeks and weeks, I should think.
Yeah, it will. Is he moving too soon? He's on the outside. He's not directly behind, so they're flying in different energy lines, but they're pretty close together.
Just under 9 kilometres to run now.
Yeah, do you think he might just be trying to intimidate Sebastian Carver just a little bit by getting really close? It's a good tactic, making him a little bit more nervous.
Is that how you intimidate an 11 times world champion?
I think that Sebastian Nagel is trying to get his left side for the arrival to the turn point and make it faster on the turn.
If he's sitting on Sebastian's left side, it means Sebastian can't turn as he goes in front of him.
Yeah.
And it's not really sporting that, but well, we'll see what happens. Ideally, he wants to be directly behind and 30 meters higher, 20 meters higher, so he can pull it round over the top of Sebastian and take him on the last 3 kilometers run in.
Yeah, we've seen Sebastian Carver take this right-hand side, going in wide to the turn and then coming out tight towards the finish. So this will be really exciting. 5 kilometers to run now. You see just off in the distance the turn point. Don't forget they've got to cross the finish line at 850 meters, otherwise they get penalties. Too low, they get 2 seconds for every meter below 850 meters. And there's a little bit of give and take. There's a 5 meter boundary that they can use up. Sebastian Carver just got the edge at the moment. We'll try and get the distance on it. I'll just see how the two of them go in the through the turn. Sebastian Carver having to take it tight. Sebastian Nagel taking it wide in and coming out on his left wingtip. Nothing in it. Sebastian Carver just got his nose in front of Sebastian Nagel. We'll see if we can't get the distance between them up on the screen. Absolutely nothing in it. 30 meters between the two of it. That's less than a second at the speed.
Less than a second, that's right, yes.
Still maintaining their height, 850 meters, just over 850 meters as they run into the finish line.
Have to keep there.
This is really, really close. What an exciting finish. And we think Sebastian Carver has just pipped it from Sebastian Nagel in second place. Fantastic finish. And running on behind Thomas Gosner, who was with them for such a long time.
He's going to be very happy at the podium today.
Well, he is always happy, but yeah, he'll have loved that race. Looking further back down the field, so just confirming there, Thomas Gosner in third place. And running into the turn point, we have Mario Kissling just in front of René Vidal in Alpha Tango. Mario just a little bit lower. Just wondered whether René can use that extra altitude to pip him on the line. See if we can get a distance between the two. What is Mario doing? Doing an S-turn to try and get through the turn point. René taking a more direct route. With his extra altitude, will he be able to beat him on the run? 400 meters to go. This distance to the next turn point is just under 3 kilometers to the finish line. Mario very low though. We think that Mario might be under the finish altitude. We'll have penalties. 380 meters now between the two of them. René's not going to be able to catch him. He's just maintaining his altitude. Both of them now over 850 meters. Mario just dropping below. Our tracking's not quite as accurate as the flight recorders, so we can't do real-time scoring just yet. But what we're seeing on the screen is Mario coming in fourth place, but very, very slow, trying to maintain his altitude, and we'll check his scores. Followed by René Vidal in Alpha Tango in fifth place. Looking further back, Zulu, Thomas Reich, very, very low.
Coming out of the 0 Point Club.
And we hope coming out the 0 Point Club, but he's not very high. Just having a look at the, have we got the energy calculator bench? Just see if we've got that. And Thomas, yeah, 200 meters in hand, so he should be okay. Meanwhile, Whiskey Golf and John Gatfield
And Giorgio Galetto,
and Giorgio Galetto pretty
who
low.
were very low, flying and near to Leonera. He managed to get up and come back.
Giorgio using all of his mountain rat skills.
Yeah, you can see that.
And if he maintains his current position, he'll get the last of the points today. John Gatfield will be happy with this. 2 more points on the board if he stays where he is at the moment. Thomas and Zulu Zulu now crossing the valley. Just going into the final turn point. Spectacular view over the city on the way in.
That's right, yes.
And our final turn point today, sponsored by Champerth.
So what a finish, Sean. It was another great day, and Mario, you've a fantastic commentary. But I just wanted to say to you guys, I hope you're enjoying this, because we're enjoying it. We're getting excited, and we're really looking forward to tomorrow's last day's racing. There's quite a gap in the front, but who knows what's going to happen. What do you think he'll be going on tomorrow with Sebastian Nagel's mine, Sean?
Well, he's just got to push out in front. He can do nothing but try and go for a win, and hope Sebastian Kawa has a problem. Don't forget the Chile party tomorrow. We know many of you are organising that. Tell us on Facebook, let us know what you're doing. Don't forget to send us a picture, and there's a set of t-shirts for the best party. Have a bit of fun, organise your club, get the projector going, turn the heating on, organise some food and some beer, and settle down and watch the racing. Just following Werner Arman and John Gatfield very close together, as Thomas Reich in Zulu Zulu will be coming up to score his first points, going through the final turn point. Just under 3 kilometres to run to the finish. He'll be delighted with this. Been very quiet up to now, but loving the competition. A bit of a last-minute entry. We had 3 wild cards for the local Chilean pilots, and Thomas stepped up to the plate. Flying Aventus 2. Nice and high coming across the finish line. You don't get extra points for doing that, Thomas. So in 6th place, Thomas Reich from Chile. Be absolutely delighted with that. And swapping places behind, John Gatfield and Werner Arman, literally wingtip to wingtip. It'll be interesting to see how they go through the turn points. 100 meters between them. John Gatfield just got the edge at the moment, both flying 29s. John Gatfield looks like he's just got a metre or 2 more in height. John takes the turn nice and gently, takes it first. Werner Arman now on the inside. And we'll see the distance shorten as they straighten up. John Gatfield now still 100 metres in front. Now it's all about holding your nerve here, fellas. Just make sure you maintain the 850 metres. Looks like John Gatfield is just a fraction over at 870. Werner Arman trying to use the extra altitude he had earlier to turn it into speed. Still 100 metres in it. The gap not closing now. Looks like John Gatfield's finally got this. Another 2 points on the board. Sorry, 3 points on the board. as John finishes in 7th place, followed by Werner Arman in 8th. We'll stick with you until we see Giorgio Galetto in 9th place, our final point scorer.
That's
come
incredible.
across the line.
It is incredible for us that somebody that was so low in front of Leoneda could lift that up and keep flying all the ridges and be back home.
So that's it. That's all of our points. Everybody else now is in the 0 points club, and they'll make their way back to the airfield now. And we'll go and get the scoring going, and then turn our video into a highlights video for you. So just confirmation of the results. So in 1st place was Sebastian Carver, 2nd Sebastian Nagel, 3rd place Thomas Gosner, 4th Mario Kisling, 5th Rene Vidal, 6th Thomas Reich, and 7th place John Gatfield, 8th place Werner Arman, and in 9th place with 1 point Giorgio Galetto. Just want to say thanks to everybody here. The video team have been great, and for Mario for his insights on the local area, Brian, who's gone off to do the race scoring, Benji for driving Silent Wings, and of course Angel Casada for providing the data for us. So if you like what we've done, tell others, get everybody together for tomorrow. If there's something we can do better, let us know on the live chat, and we look forward to speaking to you tomorrow live from Chile. Goodbye for now.
Well, bye-bye. We'll see you tomorrow.